feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem damn bad. Gotta keep on chugging, ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed heavy, got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get ahead, so bump that, it's no surrender. Got a dollar flipped up, I'm trying to get it in FT to get them when they're hand and crypto. Learn how to fix that. I don't really hold out of books, but I'ma learn how to fix that. Some opportunities and never come unless you paying attention, so no, I can't miss that. Moving, MVP, I got the record, I might have to pro something. Big jumper worthy, they gon' have to retire my jersey early. Whole crew coming, had to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that. Big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no ends, yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice, I did all that. Yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs. I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my big dog, walking big talk, young veteran, living legend, bet I'm better than them, this is my ship, I'ma jack it like Letterman, y'all better not let them in, they gon' rotate this, so I keep the pedaling, started a chain, the cycle is heaven sent, this is from God, but I'm not your reverend, not in the pulpit, I'm a pit bull in this element, yeah, said you gon' pull up then settle it, yeah, I've been married to this hustle, this is my ring, watch out step in it, yeah, and I ain't even got a yard, but I'ma get it here, watch out touchdown, pulling plans out the clutch, everybody getting crushed, the cut down is for us now, have to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that, big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that, work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no ends, yeah, I did all that, had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice, I did all that, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, yeah, I don't even know what it costs, yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my, yeah. Run it, I can't take no loss, I don't even know what it costs, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, I can't take no loss, I don't even know what it costs, yeah, I hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, hit the ground, then it go off, yeah, run it, ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah, I really feel it's my time, think it's my pen ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem damn bad. Gotta keep on chugging, ran through everything in front of me. Might smoke bed heavy, got a whole agenda. Can't aspire to get ahead, so bump that, it's no surrender. Got a dollar flipped up, I'm trying to get it in FT to get them when they're hand and crypto. Learn how to fix that. I don't really hold out of books, but I'ma learn how to fix that. Some opportunities and never come unless you paying attention, so no, I can't miss that. Moving, MVP, I got the record, I might have to pro something. Big jumper worthy, they gon' have to retire my jersey early. Whole crew coming, had to work something, cause I had nothing in my pocket, yeah, I did all that. Big plans, partners trying to make profits, yeah, I did all that. Work, sweat, and tears breaking, even no ends, yeah, I did all that. Had to make it happen, putting hours in my practice.
Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. And of course, we got a special guest in the building today, Jake Donovan from Boxing Scene. Jake, what's going on?
That was great to be back on the show, guys.
Thank you. Glad to have you. Glad to have you.
Yep. Finally, a lot going on in boxing. So not speculating as to what's going on. Now we actually, finally have a schedule to look forward to and to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. So let me jump in and just really give some love to the people that support the channel, Rock Dog Interactive. If you need anything in terms of graphic design, web design, they do all of our stuff. Check out Rock Dog Interactive, www.rockdoginteractive. And then also Black Father Figures, that's the League of Legacies. Thank you to the League of Legacies and everything he's doing in the community. Make sure you go and check that out. And then the Dodge Vodka, the best tasting vodka that I have ever had. It's got that kiwi taste to it. www.nadajvodka.com. Go check it out. Black owned out of Jacksonville, Florida. All right, man. Now that we got Jake on, we gotta go ahead and jump in there and get it going. If you got questions in the chat, go ahead and ask those questions. We'll definitely be monitoring the chat so that you guys get the opportunity to ask Jake a few questions. Jay, where do you want to start off? I would imagine we want to start off with PBC, but you tell me where you want to go.
You said Jay or Jake?
I said, Jay, where do you want to start off?
Well, let's go ahead and start out with just last night, the most up-to-date thing with the fight with Munguia and John Ryder and all that at 168-pound division there. So Munguia had a fight with John Ryder, one of Canelo Alvarez's leftovers. Took him out there, first knockout of John Ryder's career in the 9th round. He had been dropped a couple of times in the fight anyway and got wobbled in. Munguia definitely wants the Canelo fight. Of course, everyone wants the Canelo fight. I want the Canelo fight. Hell, I know y'all would take the Canelo fight too. Payday, right? Yeah. So, Munguia said he went a different approach of trying to get that fight with Canelo. He was like, it'll be an honor to fight you. He's cozying up to Canelo. So do you think that's going to happen, Jake, or what do you see that happening with Munguia and Canelo?
I do believe the fight will happen. I don't believe it'll happen next. I don't believe it will happen next. I'm not even sure if it happens in 2024. But I will give Munguia this. I think most people realistically picked Munguia to be John Ryder. There was no real pathway for John Ryder to win that fight last night. There was no category whatsoever where he was better than Munguia other than maybe the ability to take a punch. And that even gave in, as we saw last night. But so for the statement that Jaime Munguia had to make last night, he made it and then some. So, everyone was talking about him. I think most people agree, this was far and away the best performance of his career. And it's come. He got a lot of credit when he fought Derevyanchenko. It was a lot of people's pick for 2023 Fight of the Year. Before that, the competition has been real suspect since, since he beat Saddam Ali and Liam Smith. It dropped off dramatically. He had at least one fight where he probably should have lost. And then the competition level has been pretty whack since then. And not to mention a lot bad taste was left when he didn't go through with that Jamal Charlo fight. Not his fault, but those who are handling his career just completely fumbled that. So now he's all the way back to the guy we thought he was going to become. And so for anyone who wants to see him fight Canelo, he presented the best possible case that he could have last night. So most people picked him to be John Ryder. I think that the manner in which he did so is what really has people talking. So credit to Jaime Munguia. Still gets hit an awful lot. Has to make. I don't know if Freddie Roach is going to improve that. He's very offensive minded. I know it's more about when to punch. He has to work on defense though, because otherwise that's going to be his ceiling. 168. Going to be a lot of fun fights. He's not going to beat Canelo. Not going to beat David Benavidez, but he's got everybody talking last night. So it was mission accomplished, and that's some. And he did a big crowd last night. So for those who are trying to argue it's a bigger fight if he fights Canelo than if Benavidez, he went to Benavidez's childhood hometown and outdrew him.
Wow.
Now, granted, we got to find out how many tickets were sold, how many tickets were given away. But I think there's nothing negative to take away from what Jaime Munguia did last night. It was every box was checked, in my opinion.
Sounds like Oscar De La Hoya is doing a good job there, Jay. I know you don't care for Oscar.
No, don't say that at all. I don't know why you say that.
No. I'm talking about Jason. Jason, sorry. I need to start saying Jason. Jason. No, not you, Jake. Jason.
He finally did something right with that, because we saw how he did with Zuro. That crashed and burned real fast, and everyone else has left him. So all he has is Jaime Munguia and Ryan Garcia. And him and Ryan Garcia are always butting heads, and they can't even get a fight going. But with the 168-pound division, with that fight there, would you see, since you say you don't think, I'm glad you say you don't think it's going to be a Canelo fight with Jaime Munguia next, or even in 2024. I'm happy to hear about that. Do you think the next fight for Jaime Munguia would be Berlanga, if he wins, or David Morrell maybe?
So my understanding, Morrell, I'm going to say absolutely not. Not unless like BBC and Golden Boy and the Zone and Amazon start swapping. My guy fights on Amazon, your guy fights on the Zone. There's no way I see Munguia and David Morrell. I don't know where David Morrell fits into this mix at all. My understanding was last year when I want to say that Munguia wanted to fight Berlanga. I'm not saying Berlanga didn't want to fight Munguia. I think there was some hesitance to get him to look better, not just from the Jason Quigley fight. He looked better than he has, but he still has a way to go. My understanding was that the Zone wanted them to fight. They didn't. That's why they only fought once last year. So now Munguia got his date. Berlanga has this date coming up in February. I fully expect a head-on collision. I'm not saying it's set in stone. I know there's work to be done. That is the fight. It makes the most sense because I've always said this, for them to not risk a bigger fight, they both want Canelo, as you said, or whatever big fight. To me, it's like the most winnable fight for both of them. I have to believe that Jaime Munguia believes he beats Edgar Berlanga no matter where that fight takes place, even if he has to go to New York City and fight him on the eve of Puerto Rican Day Parade, which I don't think is going to happen. Berlanga, I have to believe maybe he has the confidence that says he can beat anyone. To me, for everyone that's relevant at super middleweight, Munguia has to be the guy he would have the best shot at. So I think that is a very makeable fight. Keith Connolly has a good relationship with Golden Boy. They're both on DAZN. I can see that fight happening. And I know DAZN is not going to keep giving them, you're going to fight whatever leftover, from Ghana or whatever. This is the fight. If we're going to pay you, you two are going to have to fight each other. So that's why I believe we'll see that fight next. And it's a very sellable fight. I hope it's not pay-per-view. I don't know if they're both going to drive up to the price where DAZN puts it on pay-per-view. I think that'd be a little bit disastrous. That's a fight that I think, DAZN can really build an audience around. So that's what I believe is next for Munguia. Now, granted, I am saying this as someone who's very biased, and I'm going to keep banging the drum until Canelo fights David Benavidez because there is no other fight. There is no other fight that makes sense. David Benavidez is the longest waiting mandatory. That's the fight Canelo has to. I don't want to jump too. I know you guys got a schedule, but Canelo has to fight David Benavidez. I don't expect it to be next, but it should be next. So from Munguia and Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya even acknowledged last night that David Benavidez should be fighting Canelo next. And that he hopes that Munguia would get the winner. He said Canelo, obviously, but Munguia would get a shot at the undisputed crown in September. Now, this is Golden Boy saying, their own guy should wait for David Benavidez to go first.
That's big.
Yeah.
That's not all that big. Oscar hates him anyway, so he would like to see David Benavidez go in there and destroy him.
He likes David Benavidez. He and David Benavidez have a very good relationship.
I know Oscar hates him, but Oscar wants that bag though. He wants his guy to get that bag. Even though he knows Munguia will probably get body bagged by Canelo. That's a payment for him.
That's fair.
He won't push him off on someone else.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Those fishnets.
What did you say?
He got paid for those fishnets, man.
Yeah, I thought I heard of fishnets. Yeah, absolutely no comment.
Hey. Anyway, Jay, anything else you had as far as like 168 is concerned? Like what's hold on, we haven't even talked about Canelo yet. Like, because you just said we don't expect it to be Jaime Munguia. Who else did you say we didn't expect it to be? David Benavidez. So
David Morrell.
Well, no, we know it's not going to be David Morrell. Everybody on earth knows it's not going to be David Morrell. So who's it going to be? Is it? We're hearing Maul. I'm hoping it's not Maul. That's inaccurate, right, Jake?
I know. Look, I've talked to a lot of people at PBC. I don't have a relationship with Al, but I'm pretty friendly with people who have Al's ear, and whoever is speaking to Al these days, it's amongst that circle. They swear that no fight is signed, that Canelo, and it made sense. Look, we knew Munguia was going to fight this weekend. We don't expect Canelo to make that announcement till maybe mid to late February, if even that soon. Maybe it comes early March. Who knows? Maul is the name I keep hearing. They keep running. Maybe Terence Crawford gets that fight. Now, if Canelo is not going to fight one of his four mandatories, he has 4 mandatories in waiting. If he's not going to fight one of them in May, then I can maybe live with the Terence Crawford fight. I think it would be. I would expect Terence Crawford to put forth a better effort than we got from Jamal Charlo.
Definitely.
I just don't see the logic in going from Canelo fighting Jamal, that fight turning out the way it did. It was a forgettable fight. So why would you want to remind people of that fight by having him fight Jamal's twin brother next? To me, it's like the Klitschko effect. I think there are people who still can't tell the Klitschkos apart. I think the same casual fan might struggle to differentiate between what Jamal could do, even though, he and Jamal do fight differently, but I don't expect the casual fan, especially on a brand new platform on, Amazon Prime, brand new audience, trying to differentiate, okay, can Jamal fight any different than what Jamal did? So I don't know. I hope that's not next, but unfortunately that's the name that keeps popping up, but we're just going to sit and wait until Canelo makes that decision in February. Going back to the Benavidez thing, I know, look, I'm going to keep banging that drum. It's not my job to promote a fight, though. David Benavidez has to be vocal about that fight. Samson Lukowicz, who did not even attend the WBC convention last year, after attending the past 3 years, begging for that fight, demanding that fight, I should say, he has to bang that drum. Canelo is on the right side of the street for that fight to happen. So PBC has to force that fight to happen. The WBC, who have already acknowledged that David Benavidez is the mandatory challenger, they have to step in. So beyond that, the media, it's, we just have to live with whatever's decisions next. But, I think Benavidez has done all he can, but now it's time, like someone has to force Canelo to take that fight. If they don't, then we're just going to be stuck with whatever decision Canelo makes for that. And I don't know. I just don't I don't need a Canelo Jamal Charlo fight. To me, that's a waste of time. Getting Jamal a big payday, it's just a waste of our time. But for all the momentum the sport has, we can't have its biggest stars holding up progress.
No, I agree with that. Do you really believe that the PBC actually has any leverage in regards to Canelo Alvarez?
Not at all.
That's what I thought.
The only thing I
That's
can
what I thought.
say, for whatever big minimum that Canelo has, let's say it's 50 million, whatever he's owed, per fight. I think I said, well, if we're going to sign this check, this is who you're going to have to fight. And then if Canelo wants to go take him to court over it, then so be it. But that's, I would say, the only leverage they have.
You better
for all that money they pocket. Maybe if they want Benavidez to go second. To me, I don't see any loss in fighting David Benavidez next. If Canelo loses, do the rematch in September.
Yeah.
There's your 3 fights with PBC. And if Canelo can't figure out Benavidez, you're done with Canelo. David Benavidez is the new big star of boxing. And that's the guy carrying the PBC, flying the PBC flag in 2025. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that strategy. I know it's not going to happen that way, though. That's just too perfect a scenario. But
yeah,
no, I won't say PBC doesn't have any leverage with Canelo, but it's very little. Canelo is unfortunately holding the cards right now.
That's what I figured. Now, you mentioned Terence Crawford, and I'm definitely interested in knowing that. I know we probably talked about, we were going to go talk about the PBC next, but Crawford, we know that, Bernie the Boxer, who's a part of that camp, was talking about the possibility of Terence Crawford facing Tszyu. Not going to happen. It feels like to me that Terence Crawford really is not on the table for Canelo Alvarez. Now, you're saying that it could possibly happen, but it just feels like that's not necessarily what Canelo is looking for or the PBC. So where do you believe that leaves? I mean, with Errol Spence just recently having cataract surgery, where do you think that leaves Terence Crawford?
Yeah, so a month ago, if you asked me that question, I thought for sure we would see a rematch between Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. Just based on everything I heard, I figured that fight would be, sometime maybe a few weeks after Canelo, whatever momentum they wanted to try to get, early into this relationship with Amazon Prime. I don't know. When Tszyu, now, look, I know we're going to get to the, PBC's announcement of the March 30th card. I'm going to get this out of the way. I think Tszyu fighting Keith Thurman is a complete waste of time. Just for the reason you mentioned, that everyone was okay, well, if Terence Crawford's not going to fight Jamal, if he's not going to rematch rematch Errol Spence, Terence Crawford moving up, a weight division to fight Tszyu is the most sellable fight.
I agree.
So now we're stuck with Tim fighting a welterweight, moving way up in a non-title fight, and Terence Crawford now, who is he going to fight? Is he going to fight Boots? Is he going to fight Stanionis? Mario Barrios? It's like, what are his options? There's nothing. I guess the fight with Boots is the best option, but is it, the sexiest option? For where Terence Crawford is at, he just made a very, very high 8-figure payday in his last fight. He's going to want to stay at that level. All the names we just mentioned were his best options, and none of them are available. So it's not even that. It's like, who knows when he even fights next? How does he fit into all this?
But Ennis is available. And now I understand that Ennis is not sexy in terms of the casual boxing fan, but certainly within hardcore boxing communities, he is a very sexy option. He is available. At one point, he was Terence Crawford's mandatory. Do you think there's any chance that Boots Ennis will get an opportunity to face Terence Crawford in the next fight?
I'm going to throw a extreme wild card out. And this is me not knowing anything about Terence Crawford's contract beyond whatever rematch clause came with, the fight with Spence. Oscar De La Hoya swears to God he has a big surprise for Ryan Garcia on April 20th. What if he messed around and decided to do Terence Crawford and Ryan? I know, I see you. Hold your head around.
God.
It would be a complete massacre, but who else is Ryan Garcia going to fight on pay-per-view unless he's fighting Devin Haney next?
Man, that would let you know Oscar really does hate Ryan Garcia.
But
And they
but
were
that
trying
would
to get Terence Crawford last year.
so let me get this right. Because I just got to process this, Jake. You just threw a lot out there.
This is a complete shot in the dark.
No, shot in the dark. But if they were to do something like that, Terence Crawford, well, number one, Ryan Garcia would be a moron for taking that fight. He's going to get blasted. I think Ryan is big enough to carry the card because I still don't believe Bud is actually a draw like that. But this would go completely against all of that legacy crap that he was talking about. All that legacy crap is out the window, and he is all about a dollar.
So this is why I keep going back to him possibly being in the mix to fight Canelo. I don't expect that fight to happen in May, but that's if it's not going to be Maul and Canelo doesn't fight a mandatory, I don't realistically see who else they'd want to take a chance with.
So let me ask you this, Jake, on that one right there. Okay, so when you think about Terence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, what incentive is it for Canelo Alvarez to get in the ring with Terence Crawford? I mean, he's going to make $50 million or whatever his guarantee is, regardless, more than likely. It's probably based in his contract. And then you got a guy that's moving up that if you kick his ass, they're just going to say he's small. And if he kicks your ass, it's all you get is the $50 million that you're going to get anyway for fighting somebody in your weight class. Why would you make that decision?
If a fight with Terence Crawford presents the most upside, that's an even bigger bet. That would be it. I don't even think Canelo, I haven't heard anything that suggests Canelo would even want that fight. But if they could pitch that as the most sellable fight and for him a chance to make as much money as possible, that would be the reason.
You think so with Terence Crawford? Because I don't know what his guarantee is. Maybe you have a better idea, but I think they probably lose money whether it's Terence Crawford or any other fighter, unless it's I don't think he makes. This doesn't feel like he's going to be profitable unless he gets into the ring with David Benavidez, something that's highly anticipated, or somebody like Munguia, who seems like maybe his star is starting to rise in terms of drawing power. So I'm struggling with the Crawford thing. I just find it hard to believe he'll get that opportunity.
And I will say this with Munguia. Like, again, I'm not campaigning. I'm already very clear that I want to see Canelo and David Benavidez next. But to your point, a fight, especially the way Munguia looked last night, that fight is now sellable for May. That's a huge fight for May, probably a bigger fight in September. But there you go. And, Canelo could pitch, okay, well, if I fight Munguia, that gets my WBO mandatory out of the way. So at least that's one. I don't know if he even cares about that part. But before the sanctioning bodies start ordering fights, and my hunch is that the WBO will be the only ones who actually order a mandatory because they've already done it with John Ryder last year. That gets that out of the way. And then he would have room to fight Benavidez in September, then maybe rematch next year or whatever. So that would actually keep the ball moving. So I don't like speculating because last year, we had all these ideas of who Canelo was going to fight, and then they came out of left field saying he was fighting Jamal Charlo that nobody expected. So what's to stop him from doing the same thing in May?
Very true. Very true. A fight no one asked for last year with Canelo and Jamal Charlo was no one asked for that, and they gave it to us anyway. So
yeah,
we could definitely
that very with that, right? Because I like what they did with the Tszyu Keith Thurman undercard, but they got to be careful with giving us main events that nobody's asking for. That's again, this is a brand new platform. We don't know how many people are going to go. I know they keep pitching. Amazon Prime has whatever 160 million, but we've heard all those numbers with all these other platforms too, and boxing doesn't generate anywhere close to those numbers.
Yep. So Jay, where do you want to go from here?
Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about Boots. So you mentioned Boots a little bit earlier. So we know Boots was fine with, Showtime. So where does this leave Boots at right now as far as like, where is he with? Is he with anyone? Do you know? And what's next for him possibly?
I see. I don't like with Showtime shutting down and people moving on. I know like there's a certain, obviously from an employee standpoint, like they get paid a certain package or whatever. There's like a buyout. I don't know how that exactly works with Boots' contract, especially with Cameron Duncan passing, his manager. I know Matchroom suggested they have Andy Cruz, and Boots and Andy share, both Ennis. So that like a move like that would make sense. But to me, it seems like wherever Boots is going to go, it's like, what fights can you deliver him? Right. I never understood why he just wouldn't sign with PBC because that's, they've held him back. It's like he's gotten not the leftovers necessarily, but like the B tier level guys of like, these are the guys who are willing to let you fight until you sign with us, and then we're going to give you a shot at, at Spence, at Keith Thurman, at whoever. So until he signs with them, I just don't see them voluntarily, serving up those guys until he becomes a big enough name. And he's not there yet. He hasn't fought since last July. So he's a guy that needs to be active, not just, posting on X, lock, smoke, run, date, lock, put him in a casket. That shit gets old after a while. It's gotten old already. So he needs dates. He needs to stay active. And he's already right back to the same situation he was at really in 2022 when he only got that one fight. He fought 2 rounds, got at least 2 fights in 2023. But now we're already 6 months into inactivity and with nothing on the horizon.
Damn.
So that's why I keep saying, especially with Showtime going out, I know we're excited about Amazon, and the fresh start, but the market, that we really have to pay attention to what's going on in the market, because especially on the U.S. side, Matchroom's, to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure Matchroom's budget got cut for the zone. So we're already seeing a little bit, not a little, but pretty drastic drop off in what they're able to deliver so far in the first quarter. Maybe they're saving up for a big year. But as far as like what people are able to provide in the U.S., it's like we really have to pay attention to what's going on in the market.
Yeah,
someone has to pay for all these fights that we're hoping happens.
So if Boots hasn't signed with PBC, which I thought was probably going to occur since the demise of Showtime, what the heck is he doing? Like, what is his structure?
Figure it out. I mean, yeah, whoever is guiding his career, they got to figure out that move. So
because Cameron Duncan just passed away. He was his manager, right? So is Steven Espinosa? We did see Steven Espinosa after the announcement that Showtime would no longer carry boxing. We saw him at their gym. Is there any chance that he's going to get involved in his career at any point or to any extent?
I don't dare want to speculate on that. So I don't even know the situation with like everyone's exit strategy from Showtime Sports. So I have to imagine any speculation would be carry some legal ramifications.
Yeah, no, gotcha. No, totally understand. So, Jason, where you want to go from here? There's still a number of topics we want to cover before we open up the phone lines.
Yeah. So now, what about? So there's one belt left, if I'm not mistaken, at 154 that Jamal Charlo still has, because the last one he had 2, and then the one of them got vacated from him. That's Fundora's fighting for on March. Mm-hmm. Have you heard anything about Jamal Charlo from here on out? Is he like still on the shelf, or he's going to probably be stripped of his last belt he has?
I expect him to, whether he gets stripped or he gives it up, I don't expect him to keep the WBA belt. There's already a fight in place between the mandatory Israel Madrimov and Magomed Kurbanov. That fight is supposed to happen. I think they're waiting for the stakes. The WBA is in the process. Madrimov actually asked for his mandatory to be ordered, because I think that's the only way they can free up. They don't want to fight for an interim title. I expect the WBA to order that mandatory, and then Jamal would either have to commit to that fight or just decide he's going to give up the belt. I know with the IBF, he let that go all the way to a few days before the purse bid, maybe I think even the day of the purse bid, and then decided, okay, now I'm going to relinquish the title. And then Bakram had to wait the whole process. I can see him doing the same thing with the WBA, but I don't expect him to keep the title. I expect once that fight is ordered, that's going to trigger a scenario where Jamal will be completely beltless unless you count the ring title and his lineal championship. So he's still the recognized junior middleweight champ if he returns to the division. But even the WBC, who gave his brother all the rope, to keep his title, now all of a sudden they're like, well, we don't know if he's returning to junior middleweight. Well, damn, Jamal has a return to middleweight in 3 years. So, they're pretty much giving up. I know Jamal is technically the champion of recess. If he returns, he can fight the winner of Fundora and Sergey Bohachuk. I don't know. He's got legal issues too. I'm trying not to be too negative, but I get the sense he's going to be benched until he can figure out a lot of stuff in his personal life. He's pretty much now in the situation where his brother was.
Yeah, I really hope they don't hold that. The last belt he held, I hope they don't let them just keep holding that and keep the division waiting on that too.
It's already, from my understanding, is Madrimov wants that mandatory ordered. So the WBA now is obligated, unless they want to get sued by Madrimov, by World of Boxing and Matchroom Boxing, they're going to have to order that fight, and then Jamal is going to be pressed with the decision. So I can see him going the whole negotiation period, and then let it go to a purse bid, and then kind of make them wait, and then give up the belt. But again, I don't see him entering his next fight with any titles intact.
I can
Gotcha.
definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
What about let's transition to the PBC because I've been curious about this one for quite some time now, Jason. It was rumored that they were coming back in March. We had heard that for quite some time. The understanding that I got, at least from conversations that I had, was that they were looking for a pay-per-view name because the first event was going to be pay-per-view. And so the names that, of course, would make sense would be Crawford, Spence, of course, Gervonta Davis. He was actually the name that had been rumored for quite some time. And now we're at a point where none of it materialized whatsoever. And we have Keith Thurman versus Tszyu, which I actually thought it was going to be Keith Thurman versus Stanionis. And that didn't occur because I was told that was supposed to occur last year on December 9th. So how do we get here? And I know when I sit back and I look at the card, I say, I think the card is solid. But at the same time, I couldn't help but express disappointment in the card. And I think it was partially due to the fact that they were supposed to come out the gate with a bang. And this doesn't feel like a bang. This feels like a bit of a whimper. I do not believe, I hate to say this about Al Heyman because I love Al, but I do not believe this is a pay-per-view card. And so now this is what we have. What's your thoughts on this, Jake? The fight, how did we get here? And then, you shared some comment earlier, but what about the co-main event, if you will, as well?
All right. Well, I love the co-main event. I love the fact that they got Rolly and Pitbull. I never believed that Rolly was going to fight Ryan Garcia just because I knew, like, when they were talking about whatever negotiations, Oscar was claiming, talks are here. Like, I had inside info that talks were nowhere other than the fight was just kind of thrown out there. To the main event, to me, it feels like more of a matter of convenience. To your point, we all thought Keith Thurman was supposed to fight Stanionis. He agreed to fight Stanionis. That was supposed to happen. They killed that card, and they said that fight and Lara and Danny Garcia both were getting punted to 2024. Not getting either of those fights. So I don't know what's going on with Stanionis, but with Thurman, they got to a point they have to give him a fight. He doesn't want to sit out. We keep joking. It's sad actually. He headlined the first PBC card 9 years ago. He's only had 7 fights in those 9 years. That's not by his choice. Obviously, he got injured. He had to recover. But he doesn't want to go 2 years between fights. He was, if you asked him, he was willing to fight Boots. I don't know if the money matched his, desire to do so. But he claimed he wanted to fight Boots. He signed to fight Stanionis. They had to get him a fight. Tszyu was actually, Lubin seemed to believe he was in the running to fight Tszyu. And that man, I don't know how many, title eliminators he's fought to get his second shot at a world title, but it's if anyone deserves it in that regard, like he's literally paid his dues. He had to pay all those sanction fees to get to that position, regardless of how you thought the fight with Jesus Ramos turned out. To my knowledge, he's fought at least 4 mandatories. Eliminators to get in position to fight for a title. So maybe people involved got cold feet and felt like, okay, it wasn't an appealing enough main event. Keith Thurman still, for wherever he's at in his career, still has a name. Maybe it's a bit more sellable of a main event to whatever audience they're trying to intrigue. But I did, they kept mentioning Tank. I knew that wasn't going to be the first one. His, whatever is going on in his career seems to have taken a drastic turn from what I thought was going to be the case. But Tszyu was always the name I did hear as like whether it was going to be pay-per-view or just the first Amazon show. They were going to do that in March. I think they wanted to do it a little closer to, I want to say it's like a big rugby tournament going on in Vegas. That I feel like it's kind of a missed opportunity because they got him and Zarafa both on this show. So I felt like, they could have really, grabbed that audience if they had this card sooner. But Tszyu headlining the show, to me, he's a big enough international name, maybe not in the U.S., but him fighting in Vegas is going to help, broaden, help build up his name. So that's the only thing I can think of with Thurman. They had to get him a fight, and Tszyu just wanted, a more appealing name than Erickson Lubin, which is the better fight, just not the more maybe attractive, main event to the casual audience that you're trying to bring in.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The only thing about it is with Keith Thurman and the fact that he's been on the shelf now, it looks like it's going to be 2 years. I'm not sure if he's a much better name in terms of an opponent for Tszyu, but we'll see. We'll see what ends
Here's
up
my
happening.
problem as well. Same with welterweight and us banging on Canelo, saying he's obligated, he has all these mandatories. PBC has more stock at 154 than any other platform. As a matter of fact, probably more stock than every other platform combined. So there's really no excuse for Tszyu to not defend his title against one of their 104 pounders. And not only that, he's fighting Keith Thurman, who's moving up from welterweight, and it's in a non-title fight. I don't get the whole point of 155 unless that's, Tszyu just not wanting to make weight. But that fight could be whatever weight you want it to be. I mean, if no belt's at stake. So that's kind of the letdown there, with me. I do like what they did with the undercard, though. So I kind of have a different look on their first event. We've seen so many series. I go all the way back to the 1990s when Don King put boxing on Fox. And he began with Mike Tyson in the headliner. And then the series just completely devolved to whatever crap he was willing to put on there that Showtime wouldn't pay for at that time, because that was the other deal he had. ESPN, when they began in 2017, when Top Rank, took over the series, they began with Manny Pacquiao. They've never had an event that's really captured that, the magnitude of that show. So I'd rather see a series, I think with Tszyu and whatever undercard, this is like kind of a gauge of what they can build. I'd rather see them start and then build to something bigger, rather than going first with Tank or Canelo, and then, like, God forbid you don't hit the number you want to, then you just start, the series gets, cheaper and cheaper as time goes on, and we're left with nothing. So hopefully this is a good starting point of things to come. Maybe that's me being way too optimistic, but I'd rather that approach, especially since with this show, even though the main event isn't all that, and it deserves to be criticized, at least we're getting a decent undercard plus an Amazon, lead-in, fights that won't be on the pay-per-view.
Right.
So I kind of like that approach, and I think it's something they could build on. My understanding is they're working on a show for April. I don't know if it's going to happen, but if it does, that won't be pay-per-view. That the next pay-per-view would be Canelo. So it's not going to be just, exclusively pay-per-view fights. So
yeah,
I look forward to what they can deliver. I get that people are completely skeptical. We've been burned way too many times before as boxing fans. I'm going in this with an open mind, because I know PBC, they have to understand there's huge risk here, especially since for now they don't even have a second, platform deal, which I'm starting to believe. I think they were kind of banking on going into 2024. I thought they would, they believed they would have Amazon, they could do the pay-per-views, and somewhere else where they can do something of a prospect series, and that's just not in place right now. So it's all eyes are on them right now. But I like I said, I'm optimistic, but I guess cautiously optimistic.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Something else I was interested in, Jake, is Ryan Garcia. You mentioned this earlier. It was a shot in the dark. We're gonna hope that one doesn't materialize, and there are some other options that might occur for Ryan Garcia. Now they're saying that they have a big surprise for Ryan Garcia. I'm hoping it's not Terence Crawford. Could it be a Subriel Matias? Could it be a Devin Haney that maybe they have circled the block and now are talking? Devin doesn't have a dance partner. We know Tank is not available, and that's the biggest fight in and around his weight class. So Ryan would make a whole lot of sense. Maybe they could come back to the drawing board and actually have a conversation in regards to making that fight. What are your thoughts?
I'm with you. I'm kind of holding out hope that it is going to be Devin Haney, because otherwise Devin Haney is going to have to fight Sandor Martin, which is not a bad fight, but he is a free agent. He seems to be pretty comfortable staying on pay-per-view. That's not a pay-per-view fight at all. That is a pay-per-view disaster waiting to happen. And again, I keep going back to these guys. We talk about all these fights. Someone has to pay for it. If Ryan Garcia is going to headline his own pay-per-view, Devin Haney is a name that fits that bill. So I don't know. Absent that, the only other option I could see for Ryan Garcia, and I was throwing out Terence Crawford just because I don't want to see Ryan Garcia in a gimmick fight. But if there's something in the back of my mind that says, I'm not going to say he's going to fight Manny Pacquiao or something, but just, they're talking about, he could fight at welterweight. It's like, well, who the hell is he going to fight at welterweight? That's even available.
That would be.
I do not see Super Matias. I would be stunned if we get that next. I think highly of Ryan Garcia, probably more so than other people do. I will give him all the props in the world if Super Matias is next, but I would put that as a 0.1% chance.
That would be moronic. I would rather get Devin Haney in the ring where I'm going to get paid more money. Why does there seem to be such a disconnect between Ryan Garcia and Oscar De La Hoya? They never seem to be on the same page in regards to anything. He's saying it's Rolly. He's saying that who was the other guy that they said that he was possibly going to fight? Oscar. Yeah.
Jose.
They're never on the same page.
No, I don't. It's just, look, it was a weird year for them last year. And Oscar he keeps talking as if nothing happened, as if they're not suing each other, as if they didn't have that whole blowout during fight week. I mean, Ryan Garcia went deep on Oscar and Bernard with them both standing right on stage. So he held nothing back. I just don't get this whole washing your face with this mentality that he's got going on. There is a complete disconnect. That, Oscar saying that whole thing with Ramirez is really embarrassing because I heard that rumor and then I went to Ramirez's team. I'm like, is Oscar just throwing? He's like, oh no, we're seriously in talks. So apparently Ramirez's team was in talks with Golden Boy, but as Ryan Garcia has taught us many, many times, it means nothing unless you're in talks with Ryan Garcia. So, even the whole Rolly, I thought the Rolly thing, I was really looking forward to. I really hoped that he was going to fight Rolly, but I happened to be in Vegas when all that broke, and Rolly was like openly telling people, like, yeah, I'm willing to fight, but not a word was uttered to him. So then for that to happen, and then Oscar would tell people, oh, we're moving on to Ramirez. Rolly priced himself out. I was like, how did you price himself out if you'd never even gotten off?
Right.
So it's just, I don't know. You can't make all the same mistakes that happened with, the end of Golden Boy and Canelo, but that just seems to be the destiny for Golden Boy and Ryan Garcia, which I think is a shame because I think even more so than Canelo, Golden Boy is the perfect fit for Ryan Garcia and vice versa. So, Golden Boy was fun to see, though. I mean, they got Zepeda headlining March 16th. He's going to be in a position where he can become a star. Jaime Munguia, his star is rising. Virgil Ortiz is back. He needs a better fight than what he got in January, but at least he's back and there's room to grow. So one thing about Golden Boy, they've always found a way to survive. They survived the whole thing with PBC. They survived HBO going out of business. They, Oscar, he's a fighter. I hate to, it sounds corny, but he is a fighter through and through, and they're going to keep fighting. So that's one thing we can't sleep on. But they need Ryan Garcia. They need to be on the same page. I don't know how that relationship gets resolved, but they just can't say, oh, we're a united front. No, you're not. No, you're not. And you have to figure it out. You need to be. That is the shame. Because if they are, then Golden Boy could be very, very dangerous in the sport.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
I mean, they got a potential rising star in Floyd Schofield, too.
Yes, they do. Yep. Who's also fighting on this beauty club. Yep.
So let me get your thoughts on this, Jay, because I've heard this on multiple occasions from multiple people, specifically in our Discord. If you guys are interested in joining the Discord, let us know. We will drop the link in the chat. But I keep hearing this Saudi Arabia, they're going to take over boxing, man. They got all the money over there. There's they're not interested in really turning a profit. They're only interested in their entertainment, which I find to be not even possible, right? Because I think everybody has an interest in making sure that they hold on to their money and they're not just going to take a L just to have entertainment. What's your thoughts on that? Like, we've heard $50 million out there that AJ supposedly got. We see AJ fighting there with the massive card that they had in December. We got AJ versus Ngannou coming up, which I would love to get your thoughts on that as well. What's your thoughts on Saudi Arabia, their impact currently on boxing? And then if you want to transition to that AJ question, that would be good as well.
Yes, give me a Jay.
Oh, I'm never asking Jay anything. I'm always asking Jake a question.
Well, he's asking you, Jake.
I don't.
He said Jay earlier. He's a little slow sometimes, so it's okay.
What are you talking about? I said Jake. What are you talking about?
Oh, Jay. You said Jay. That's why Jake didn't know who you're asking.
Well, first and foremost, you should always know who I'm asking because I don't give a damn about your opinion. So that's clear first and foremost. So let's go with you, Jay. That's fine. That's fine. But clearly I'm talking to Jake because my question was very articulate. And of course, if I'm talking to you, I'm talking to somebody who can't understand okay, let's go, Jake. Let's go, Jake. What are your thoughts?
I'm sorry, Jake.
Yeah. Look, I'm glad that, Turki Al-Sheikh, he's come along and he's willing to invest in the sport. So that's great. I'm going to use like Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol as an example. That is, I know people always want to see undisputed fights. This undisputed fight to me, if it makes sense, absolutely want to see it. Obviously, everybody wanted to see Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. Beterbiev and Bivol was, I don't know, it was a fight. It was like, okay, if it happens, great, I'll embrace it. If not, I couldn't care less. That is a fight that needs someone like, the Saudis to invest in because that fight doesn't really do business. Maybe in Canada, but that's about it. That's a very expensive fight that no one was willing to pay for, and they can never get on board. So fights like that is where the Saudis, they serve a purpose. But what I don't want to see, and we're already starting to see it, is promoters just mortgaging their entire company and throwing all their big business over there. I always had a different view on the Day of Reckoning show. To me, I know it was this big spectacular event, but it was a collection of fights that nobody really asked for. There wasn't one fight on that card like, oh my God, thank God this fight is finally happening. So we got some surprises. We saw like Daniel Dubois resurrect his. Once they said he was fighting Jerome Miller, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's a fun fight. But that wasn't like, oh my God, this fight absolutely has to happen next. So we're getting Fury and Usyk, thank goodness. You know, the first undisputed fight in 25 years. And the only way we're going to get Fury Joshua is whoever in the Middle East is willing to invest in that fight. So, but I don't want to see, like I said, you know, as U.S. fans, I'm glad that PBC is on board. I'm glad that Golden Boy is getting the zone dates. I'm glad that Top Rank has come out. I think it's a pretty strong schedule for the first quarter, at least compared to, it's not no more F.A. Jagba, Joseph Goodall, whatever headliners that we got, you know, title fights headlining most of their shows in the first quarter. So, you know, we're getting back to, you know, quality boxing in the U.S., you know, with not a lot of pay-per-views. I know there's going to be some, but I don't want to see where the only way a big fight is going to happen is if they go off to the Middle East, because that was a dead-ass atmosphere in December. I don't know. Yeah, it's just very stale. You know, it's you know, you go in there because you want a big payday. That's great. Go make as much money as possible, but it can't be the only way, you know, someone in the sport gets paid. Otherwise, the U.S. boxing scene is just going to completely die altogether.
Let me, John Mack here, real quick, $5 credibility check. Do you believe Heyman violates the Ali Act by being both advisor and promoter? I think that question is to Jake, because nobody cares about what Jay has to say. What are your thoughts, Jake?
He's not a promoter, so.
Say that again.
They try to take them to court. You know, everyone's, you know, tried and failed on that regard. PBC is a managerial, you know, it's a managerial conglomerate. They're not a promoter. Al Heyman is not a promoter. Yes, he has a lot of say in who fights who, but he's not a promoter. He's not even ringside for 99% of the events.
Gotcha. All right.
And being a promoter are two different things. People really need to understand that before they start citing the Ali Act. Yep. He's not double dipping in their purses either. So that's.
Gotcha. Jason, what do you have any other topics that you would like to discuss before we go to the phone line? I just want to make sure. I think there are a number of other. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, as far as like, have you heard anything about at the 135-pound division? Have you heard anything about Frank Martin? Any upcoming fights? I mean, he's been rumored about him and Tank potentially in the summer. Anything else on that?
I don't believe he's fighting Tank. I don't think Tank could care less about you know, I know when they were talking about Devin was going to move up, they were going to elevate Tank from regular to full. I think Tank maybe got confused and thought he was going to be super titleist. You know, I know he had that tweet. I don't know if he kept it or he deleted it saying, you know, I don't want that, you know, stuff, whatever. I don't know if he even cares about that belt. He's going to hold on to it until they tell him, okay, well, you're going to fight so-and-so. And then he's like, well, yeah, take your belt. I'm going to go fight whoever I want because I'm the biggest star in the sport, which is true. I don't believe he's going to fight Frank Martin next. I could see Frank Martin fighting for that title, though. I'm pretty sure he's highly ranked enough by the WBA. So if he has to fight somebody, I don't have the list in front of me. I know William Zepeda and Maxie Hughes are fighting for a WBA and IBF eliminator. I fully expect that winner to go fight the winner of Lomachenko and Kambosos next. I think Golden Boy's just trying to cover all the bases, you know, having the mandatories, you know, then picking and choosing which one they go after. But I can see Frank Martin fighting for a vacant WBA belt somewhere in the first half of 2024. I don't know who that would come against, though.
Gotcha.
Maybe, I don't have the rankings in front of me. Maybe someone like Jose Valenzuela, who, you know, had the, you know, arguably the knockout of 2023.
Yeah, he put Colbert to sleep on that one. Damn.
Yeah. I like Chris Colbert, but I happen to, you know, a lot of people seem very happy about the outcome of that fight.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, again, I think people are happy about it just after the first fight.
What's that?
I think people are happy after the way the first fight went. You know, most people felt that, you know, Rayo won that first fight. And then Chris Colbert acted after the fight, and then they had a rematch.
Right. So now I'm looking at the WBA rankings. Isaac Cruz is obviously fighting Rolly next. I don't know if that fight is going to be for the WBA 140 title, but I don't think either one of them care. It's just going to be a fun fight. And even with the language barrier, I think it's going to be a very, very entertaining, you know, press conference from what they could deliver. Zepeda's number 2, but I do expect him to beat Maxie Hughes and go the IBF route. That leaves Frank Martin and then with De Los Santos. Maybe that's the WBA option. Again, I'm speculating that he is fighting for the WBA title next. But Rayo is number 6. I don't think Floyd Schofield's going to go fight for the title this soon. So I would expect to see, you know, Frank Martin versus De Los Santos or Rayo next.
Any chance you think Shakur mentioned on a podcast, I think earlier this week, that he might spin the block with Frank Martin negotiation? Do you think that could possibly happen for them to actually fight this year?
It could. I mean, he's again, Lomachenko's fighting for the IBF belt. Isak Cruz is out of the way. Zepeda's out of the way, so he's already free of a mandatory. I kind of sense he'd wind up fighting someone like Raymond Murataya, but Shakur has to fight someone relevant. There's a lot of bad taste that he has to remove, and plus he's already openly talking about once my contract ends, I'm going to be a free agent. I don't know if he's just saying that to try to drive up the price. I've mentioned this. Other people have asked me. I'm more curious if, like, once his contract ends, James Prince does all his business with Top Rank pretty much. I don't know any other client he has that is fighting for someone else other than Top Rank. So regardless of when that contract ends, that's the part I'm looking at more. I'm not going to say he's going to leave Jay Prince. I don't know that, man. I don't know the terms of their contract, but I don't know. Him talking about he's going to leave Top Rank. I mean, there's obviously a little bit disconnect because Top Rank seemed pretty gleeful about mentioning that his last fight, at the box office completely bombed. Not to mention that it was a god-awful fight. So he needs I'm not saying he needs to resurrect his career, but he definitely needs a far more fan-friendly style. A fight with Frank Martin would be fun. A fight with Murataya not only would be fun, but it's an in-house fight, and he's ranked high enough to where maybe they could sell that as a mandatory too. So just to make sure Shakur doesn't get stuck in that loop.
Jay, what does Lil Jay what does Lil Jay do? Again, man, it's just some people I'm not going to speculate about. So okay, I was just curious because he's been around since Floyd.
Yeah,
and I'm not. Is he? He's the manager. He's technically that's his title, the manager, right?
Yeah, manager. Yes.
Okay, so he's basically acting as he's basically Al.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What were you about to say, Jay? Jason?
Yeah, I was going to say, Mortar has been talking about fighting Keyshawn Davis a lot. Him and Keyshawn Davis have been going back and forth. So do you think that might be the fight for him instead of Shakur getting that fight with him?
Keyshawn has this fight with Jose Pedraza coming up, so we'll see how he looks there. I think Keyshawn is the type. He probably will be ready for a title whenever it comes. I'm not going to bank it. Okay, well, he looked like ass, and it's not ass, but he looked less than what he's supposed to in his last fight. We're talking about a guy who's prospect of the year level, so he's supposed to look, top notch every time out. So when there's a drop off, I don't hit the panic mode. I think he'll return to that against Pedraza. It is a tough fight, but I don't like Pedraza coming back down to 135. But I don't know if Keyshawn Davis necessarily cares who he fights, but. Again, I always go back to who's going to pay for these fights, and I don't know if he's ranked anywhere where he could even challenge for a title. So I don't see a fight like that happening for anything less than, one of the belts at 135.
Got it.
I think ranked is the IBF. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's ranked in WBO as well. I should have known top ranked WBO. But I would expect him, like I said, if they can get him to like a Lomachenko or a Kambosos or whatever, or I don't know. I'd expect him to go that route. I don't see them willfully, especially if Shakur is talking about fighting Frank Martin. I don't see Keyshawn Davis getting in the way of that.
Okay.
Wait, Jay, you got any other questions around 35?
No, I think we're pretty much good at 135.
75. Beterbiev and Bivol. Is it happening? Are there any negotiations? What's going on there?
It sounds like, Dan Rayfield reported that it's, I don't know if talks were advanced or they've all agreed. Bivol's team made it seem like they're already on board with it. Beterbiev is now out of his mandatories. I think the only one that's left is the IBF. But one thing I will say about the sanctioned bodies, and the IBF is pretty good about this too, if they get wind of an undisputed fighter on the horizon, they will hold off on the mandatories. And I'm fine with that. Michael Liefert, I know he beat Jean Pascal, but he hasn't fought since then. So, at least go ahead and fight, again, to, kind of build up your own intrigue for that fight. So the WBC seems to have softened his stance considerably on Bivol. They previously said he's never going to fight for the title unless he denounces, the whole Russian-Ukraine war. Now, they didn't say they would permit it, but they seem to be non-committal, and I expect them to kind of bend the knee if, Turki Al-Dashik says, we need this fight to happen June 1st for all the belts.
Makes sense. My
understanding, there's no roadblocks in the fight happening.
I'm curious, who you think wins?
I know, man. Beterbiev, he looked pretty damn good in his last fight.
I know, man. I want to go with Bivol, but Beterbiev just.
I do kind of still lean towards him. I can see him outboxing Beterbiev, but that's a true 50-50 fight.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll cop out and wait till May 31st to make a pick on that one.
I keep thinking Bivol can outbox him, but I'm like, at some point, Beterbiev's gonna land, man, and can he stand up to it when he lands?
He have a pretty sturdy chin. I know he got wobbled by Joe Smith at one time. He can get hurt, but he's one of those guys. It's like you really have to land like that home run shot. To that's the only way you're gonna take him out. To me, he seems like he can take him out. He's a big dude too. So
yeah,
he's very big, 175. Beterbiev, he's just not getting old though, man. I don't know how he does it. He does it clearly. He just passed all the tests. Well, atypical, whatever, but he hasn't tested positive. So
what is he, like 38?
I think he's
39. I think
he just turned 30. What? I think he's
39.
Yeah,
he's up there. He's almost so.
Sound like he on that LeBron juice.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, man. The phone lines are open for you guys to get the opportunity to call in and ask Jake a question. But before we do that, if you're new to the channel, this is the Angry Man Podcast and Sports Media. We are always dropping boxing-related content on a daily basis. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and become a part of the family. And if you're a part of the family already in terms of being a subscriber, consider becoming a member. It's $2.99 a month. It helps to support the channel so that we can give you guys this great content. $2.99 a month. Please check it out. And also, we take super chats and super thanks as well. All of that stuff is welcome and appreciated because it helps support the channel. So again, phone lines are open and we are ready to take calls. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and get the phone line number up there so people can see it.
Please don't want Edward to listen. I'm not answering that.
All right, Jay, but we might as well chop it up while the phone lines are open, waiting for people to call in. I see band up in the chat, Gina, DJJ 1551. Got the first one. I already know who it is, so I'm just going to go ahead and let you say your little slogan.
Let him cook. Happy Sunday, my friends.
What's going on,
Jake,
Jerry?
how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. Hey, you kind of threw me off. I was about to come in really, really hard today, but I said, let me pump the brakes. I don't want to scare Jake off the show. So, but I'm glad you're on, though. I'm glad you're on because I think that I had my first impression of you was a little distorted. You sound like you have an open mind and your opinion isn't slanted one way or another. So let me talk to you about one of my favorite topics, the PBC. Okay. So I have a problem with the PBC, but I'm going to refresh everyone's memory, and I'm probably a little older than everybody on the panel today. But do you remember who the promoters were when it was Felix Trinidad versus Oscar De La Hoya, both undefeated? That was the biggest fight in decades since the Sugar Ray Leonard era, especially at welterweight. You remember the promoters for that fight?
I sure
King
do.
and
Don King about that.
Yep.
It was Don King and Bob Arum that put on some of the biggest fights that we've known. And actually, at one point, we're suing each other. Now, a fight that is the biggest grossing fight of all time on pay-per-view, Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather. Who were the promoters for that fight?
Was it TGB? I don't. Well, was it Floyd? Right, Floyd was.
It was Bob Arum, and wait for it, Al Heyman.
He's not a promoter.
No, Al Heyman and Bob Arum were the two headliners for that fight. Al Heyman representing Floyd Mayweather and Bob Arum representing Manny Pacquiao. Look it up. Google is your friend. Jake, We talk about money not being there for some of our biggest fights. I'm sorry. I know that we would love to keep boxing in America, but we continuously fumble the bag.
Yes,
Well, I would say that when there's a big fight that involves a PBC fighter, the money's never there. The money's never there. So I agree with you that not all the fights should head over to Saudi Arabia. And by the way, for everyone saying that, Saudi Arabia is only for UK fighters, Floyd Mayweather has been fighting in Saudi Arabia for years. For years. Not only that, he uses DAZN as a platform. So my question to you is, what's wrong with Saudi Arabia coming in and making the fights that we can't put together in America because the PBC says there's no money in the fight? Then they say it's because the other person wants too much money. So in situations like that, we have stalemate where Tank wants to make $25, $30 million a fight, but he wants to fight Pitbull Cruz. He wants to fight Rayo. Why can't Saudi Arabia come in and go, you know what? We're going to bid on that fight. For instance, I want to see Terence Crawford fight Jaron Boots. And I am so glad that you had the guts to come on here and say that his career has been stalled. Just like when he had the opportunity to fight Crawford and they had to get Showtime involved, although they don't have a contract with Showtime. So all I'm saying is to put some of these bigger fights together that Americans cannot for some reason. Why not have Saudi Arabia come in and put a bid on those fights? What say you?
Well, I mean, Turki Al-Sheikh already is on record saying he wants to do Devin Haney and Gervonta Davis.
But Davis doesn't want it.
David, he hasn't said anything.
I don't know what Tank Davis and Haney is going to be a hard fight to make because honestly, and I've said this before, and everyone thinks I'm a Tank hater. Tank has all the assets in the world. He has all the gifts.
Yep.
But I sincerely, this is just my opinion, I don't believe he has the confidence in himself to face the top competition in the biggest stage. We had some callers talk about, Ryan Garcia. They were talking about it's some sort of it wasn't a real fight, but when it's against Devin Haney, it's a great fight. Well, they forget that Ryan Garcia had to give everything up. Patch weight, rehydration clause. That's why it seemed like it was just some sort of artificial fight. It wasn't real. But I won't cut you off. Let me let you talk, Jake. I want your fresh opinion on why it always seems that it's PBC fighters that we cannot find enough money. Like when Tim Smith came out in 2022 saying there was no money for the Spence and Crawford fight. That's how we got started with this. But I'll stay shut here for a minute and let you respond.
So I'm gonna limit it to this since you focused on Tank. I'm gonna put Tank in the same category as Canelo. And I said this, 2023 was a very big year for boxing. We got a lot of the fights that we wanted to get. So now in 2024, we cannot have the biggest stars holding up the sport while everyone else is trying to fight each other. That is Canelo and that is Tank. Honestly, there's probably not even a close third. Maybe AJ, but he's kind of, I think, dropped off a bit. I mean, he's going to be in Saudi up until, the UK can afford him again. But Canelo and Tank, they have to step up and they have to fight the best. How's that?
Okay. Well, let me get back. Let me get back. Let me circle back to my favorite topic, the PBC. There is this ongoing conversation that in order for you to fight a PBC fighter, right, that you can't be with Top Rank, you can't be with Golden Boy. I don't hear any other promoter talking like that, any other company talking like that, except PBC. Crawford becomes independent, He is stuck in negotiations for almost a year because they want to pay him $35.65 with no guarantee, which is the lowest offer ever made to any of Spence's opponents, ever. But it was on Crawford that was dragging his feet. Although, mind you, you have never seen Spence in the gym prepared and ready, and Crawford was still negotiating. We still see it to right now with a rematch that was supposed to happen in December.
Yep.
It's odd to me, and I saw an interview with Tszyu's manager that he said Crawford called us. He had another fight with, what's the guy's name that was the number one contender? I just had, what's the guy's name? What's the guy's name that was lined up to fight Tszyu?
Lubin?
Yeah.
Lubin. They had Lubin. He said Lubin's people called us, and then Thurman was offered. How is it, if you follow everything Tszyu's done the last 2 years, where he's taken up the best competition, how is it that he passes up Crawford, that he passes up Lubin? And Lubin said that he never turned down the fight, but that's what was publicly said. And he picks up Thurman on a fight that is not even at 154, it's at 155, and it's a non-title fight. Do you not think that PBC said, hey, you got to take this fight to save our earth because we have nothing to offer come March 30th? I mean, it just seems very, very obvious.
So let me make sure I understand something, Jerry. So you're saying that Tszyu's manager said that Terence Crawford reached out to them? This is my first time hearing that.
Yes, it's on YouTube. I don't know if it's on Fight Hype. I think it may not be Fight Hype. It may be a UK station. He said Terence Crawford called, Lubin's people called. We were negotiating with that, and then Thurman. And he said, I'm not sure what happened with Lubin's people. Lubin is on social media saying, I never turned down the fight. Crawford went unanswered, and then he's going to take a Thurman fight?
Why would Crawford fight go unanswered if he's as big of a star as you say he is? I'm just curious.
Exactly. You answer it, Greg. Because him fighting Thurman's a bigger fight. You just heard Jake tell you that it makes no sense. But now it does, doesn't it? Now it does. They put that fight card together like it was last week. And how the hell is Fundora fighting an eliminator for a title that Charlo just was stripped of, and he got knocked out his last fight? Again, doesn't make any sense.
That fight was ordered by the WBC, though. That wasn't a PBC doing.
It was ordered by the... Okay. So Fundora was the number one challenger for the WBC? After getting knocked out cold his last fight? Does that even make sense?
That's a WBC question, though. That's not a PBC question.
Okay, it was ordered because they were told to order it.
I knew that was he was going. I knew he was going there.
Okay? Just like the IBF stripped Crawford 2 months after 30 days after having beaten Spence because he didn't defend his titles against. So
who told the IBF to do that? Because that wasn't necessarily in the best interest of the PBC. Who told the IBF to do that?
Listen. You know, your boy Boots left WBO and stuck to IBF for a damn reason. And if you listen to his dad talk, they knew all along somebody's getting stripped, buddy.
So Boots controls the IBF.
He getting stripped. They already were guaranteed.
The WBC.
They were guaranteed they were going to get that. Listen. It's the right. You don't have to believe it because a lot of this is whatever you want to see. I mean, that's how boxing is these days, right? It's whatever you want to see. But I think it's kind of odd that Tszyu, the guy who doesn't duck any smoke, is going to fight Thurman, non-title fight at 155. What say you, Jake?
Look, based on what I heard, I know you're probably not going to believe me. I don't think that fight was PBC driven because they would have been fine with Tszyu fighting Lubin because now they got to go get Lubin another fight.
I know, but Lubin Public, he said that he didn't turn down the fight, but yet that's what was put out there. And Tszyu's manager, it's on YouTube. He said that the fights that were offered were Crawford, that Lubin was there, and then they called on Thurman.
So now you got to remember this too.
And
Who's going to make money? Whatever pay-per-view sales are in Australia, they need a big name. So maybe
no, I don't doubt that. I'm not knocking the fight. Actually, the fight isn't as bad as people say it is, because I think Thurman's going to come in there to fight. But the fight doesn't make sense for Tszyu, although it's a name, okay? But it kind of veers him off the course he's been on. And the fact that if you really listen, if the PBC really wanted to make a splash and was really about that life, which is putting on the biggest fights, why wouldn't you have Crawford versus Tszyu, man?
I agree 100%. I agree.
Like, what's that about?
I agree.
Now, I'll tell you what it's about. It's about everything you've been hearing on social media. Well, Crawford has no options. Where you going to go now? They're trying to squeeze him. Again.
I'm okay with that.
Again. And I'll tell you what. If the PBC doesn't go, all right, Crawford, you don't have to fight. And I don't know what the situation is with the rematch with Spence. I don't know if Crawford is legally obligated or it's null and void because it didn't happen by the end of the year. All pure speculation. But why don't you come out? Crawford is now independent. He's not with Top Rank anymore. Why don't you take care of the boy? Let him know if he's stuck and has to wait because they're going to age him out one way or another. We're going to make this fight even. 2025, buddy. You take us to court. You're going to drag this out 3 years. You're either going to wait or take us to court. It's a lose-lose. Or go, you know what? We're going to put up the guarantee or we're going to put up the money and offer Crawford boots. Offer the fight. Put some money on the table. Offer him the fight. Because honestly, that's the fight I want to see. Now that Tszyu's off the table, I don't know what Charlo's going. That's the fight that needs to happen. And the PBC, Showtime, all the bigwigs that wanted Crawford to be independent and get on the wrong side of the street. Well, you got him now. You got him. What are you going to do with it? Now, I agree. It could be that they're going to offer Canelo. And if I'm Canelo, I'm taking that fight because you got one or two ass beatings coming. And I love Canelo. I respect him as a fighter. But the way that you're going to lose to Crawford is different than the way you're going to lose to Benavidez. Both are L's. One, you're going to be able to walk out and still hold your head up high. Benavidez is going to destroy him. That's the difference. So Canelo's going to have to make up his mind. And
losing I gotta interject there. Losing to Benavidez is way more palatable than losing to Crawford, a guy moving in three-weight classes.
Benavidez is going to destroy him, and he's going to stop him. Crawford is beating him up. I'm not going to say he's stopping him, but he's going to take a beating. He's going to take a beating. And Crawford is going to simply outclass the guy. Too fast, too slick, everything. Everything. Listen, Canelo's not going to be able to, especially now, where he doesn't punch in bunches. He's like Tank. He punches, and tries to conserve his energy. You are not going to beat Crawford like that. You're going to look slow in the ring. He's not going to be effective. Now, the only reason why I say that he's going to get beat up by Crawford and it's simply just not going to go to decision because Crawford goes in there to destroy you. He will go in there to stop you. He will survey the fight, and at some point, he's going to put it on some punishment. So he may walk out of there with a couple black eyes or whatever it is. But Benavidez is a different story. And Canelo is showing you that when a boxer may have too much pride, but in so many words, he does not want that fight. And honestly, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. It's not going to end right. Dick, I'm going to hang up and listen, my friend. But thanks for coming on. And I know I like to ramble. And the guys on AM Sports, they let me go and just fill out my get my smoke out of my lungs. But I appreciate you, and hopefully we'll see you here again soon. I'm going to hang up and see what you have to respond to some of the things I had to say. Y'all have a great Sunday, my friends.
All right, Jerry. Talk to you soon, man.
All right, Jerry.
So one thing I want to address, and Jake, I definitely want to get your opinion on this as well. I feel like, a fighter is only as good as his last fight. And I think a lot of times people, they look at the last fight and the performance in the last fight, and they take that as this performance means this guy is absolutely this. I'm using Terence Crawford as an example because he was so dominant over Errol Spence. I'm using Devin Haney as an example because he was so dominant over Regis Prograis. That doesn't, because you saw that fight, doesn't mean that that's going to translate to another fighter, specifically one that's 20 pounds heavier than you. And we saw Devin just struggle with Lomachenko, yet now Devin is the destroyer at 140. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
No, I'm with you. It's a big risk for Terence Crawford to fight. Canelo Crawford fight. For the same reason we saw, Canelo and Jamal Charlo, undisputed versus undisputed. It's the same theme, and now you're banking on, one, Crawford being a more sellable name, and two, putting forth a better effort. Maybe both of those. It's a big risk, though. And I have to imagine Terence Crawford, where he's at, is probably going to ask for more money than whatever Jamal Charlo got. So you mentioned that earlier. There's a huge profit margin. It's like that's why I said I don't expect that fight to be next, but it's the only wild card. That's why I'm kind of resigned to the fact that we're going to get stuck with Canelo and Jamal, which I think is a mistake. But that seems to be we're all signs point right now. But I can't see Canelo fighting Terence Crawford at some point. I think they need that fight in between, not just take that risk right out the gate.
Yeah, I think people struggle with the business aspect of boxing. In one breath, they'll acknowledge it. In another breath, they'll dismiss it. And in my opinion, this is one of those times where you got to understand the business. You got Crawford, who just made a nice chunk. You got Canelo that's promised a huge chunk. And those two coming together may not make sense whatsoever, but it may make sense for Maul because, Maul is willing to take less.
Right. And here's the thing that's crazy. So many people are undisputed, but they don't hold those undisputed guys to defend their crown.
Right.
Go ahead and let's get that.
310, you're in the building with the Angry Man Podcast. What's going on with your fam?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you guys doing today?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Doing okay, guys. Thank you for coming back on, Jake. Appreciate it, man. Your insight's great. Little question for you. So, what do you think the chances of Boots actually getting a shot at Crawford are? I mean, is it like slim and none, or is it looking a little bit better than before, or what do you think?
I really hope that, if Boots stays with, I'd say at least PBC adjacent, that he's given enough of a platform the way this is the year where he gets to build up his name and entice into, it'd be undisputed again at this point because Crawford isn't undisputed. I just don't see Terence's options unless he's willing to sit out an entire 2024, which I think would be a detriment to his career, especially for, surviving the industry and doing, he only got that one fight in 2023, but it's like he just went so far, leaps and bounds from where he was to that point. I hope he doesn't sacrifice any more of his career in 2024. So he needs a fight. I want to see Boots built up. I do hope that is the option. If not, then again, just like 154, PBC has stock at 147. So if Boots can form a relationship in that regard, at least pick off everyone else at that weight. I think that would be his best way to build up his name. He tried that in 2023, but I guess for whatever reason, certain people didn't anticipate Showtime shutting down at the end of the year, even though those whispers were in place all along. So maybe now that he knows that he needs something to do in 2024, that would be his path, whether it's Crawford or he finds his own way to take over 147.
Yeah, because I mean, like as far as I'm concerned, to see Crawford actually go three weight classes up to fight Canelo, I don't want to see that, man. And the reason why is because we saw what happened with Charlo, right? He was there to survive, And though I think Crawford is a lot more dog in him than Charlo is, I see the same kind of fight happening. Crawford fighting to survive. I don't see it being too entertaining, to be honest with you. I just don't see it like that. The only fight I want to see Canelo win is with Benavidez. I agree with you 100%. It's the only fight I want to see. I don't know what's up with that one, but I don't want to see Crawford fight against Canelo, because if he does, then that's going to knock Benavidez off that chance of getting that big Canelo fight with the PBC. But I don't see how. But how is PBC going to make their money back if Canelo takes all these sorry ass fights? Excuse my language, but sorry ass fights. I mean, I'll tell you now, I'm not going to pay for no pay-per-view for Canelo unless he's going to fight against Benavidez, straight up. And I'm Mexican, man. I'm Mexican-American. And a lot of people I know feel the same way, man. So why am I going to pay if he's not going to give us what we want? He's just getting a free paycheck from all of us, whatever, all the Mexicanos out here. And he's not producing nothing. He's fighting against these cab drivers, man, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, so... but Suleiman's full of crap. Suleiman said, did he say that Benavidez, the winner of the Benavidez-Andrade fight, was going to be the mandatory for the WBC? But he doesn't back it up, man. I mean, what's up with that?
And specifically, he said that as long as David Benavidez won that fight, he would be the mandatory. So, yeah, you're right. He has to, that fight has to, according to his own words, that has to come next unless the IBF orders their mandatory, and they are not in a hurry to do so. And understandably so, because nobody knows who William Skull is. So I think people would freak out if that was for Canelo, especially PBC. But no, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Like I said, I'm banging the drum that Canelo and Benavidez should be next, but the media should be very careful as to trying to promote what fights need to happen. But it's holding the fighters to the highest standard possible, especially Canelo, who is among the biggest stars in the sport, if not the biggest. I think he's the second biggest behind Tank, but. It's up to the WBC. It's up to the PBC. I think PBC really needs to listen. If enough people are sharing your viewpoint, saying, well, why the hell are we going to pay for, $85 for Canelo to fight this guy when it's not even the fight we want? They got to start paying attention. Without, that Showtime cushion now, especially. I'm not sure Amazon is investing all that much into this series. Yeah, I know they're providing a platform, but beyond that, it's going to be a very expensive venture. So they got to really pay attention to what fights the fans are willing to pay for in 2024. So I hope there is enough public demand where that does cause a Canelo Benavidez fight sooner than most of us expect. And with my worry with Crawford, regardless of how competitive it is against Canelo, my concern is the same thing with Jamal Charlo, where nobody believes he's returning to 154. Terence moving up 3 divisions, I don't see him ever returning to 147 after that. So I'd say either go fight those guys at 147 or go give up the belts and go chase whatever legacy fights you want, or payday fights, whatever.
Yeah, because I mean, if Crawford's really looking for legacy, okay, you can't get the Canelo fight, which I hope he can't get. Then fight Boots, man. He can actually be a 3-time, because he can actually go back and do something that no one's ever done. Probably no one will ever do is actually, lose one of his belts and go back and grab it back and say, hey, I'm still the man. And that'd be history making right there, man.
Yeah. And again, and a fight like that, it would be like, okay, what the industry did to him for all those years. Like, he's the guy that survived the industry and held him back. He got that fight with Spence and, finally, say, hey, well, I stuck it out and this is what made it happen. Now he's going to go do the same thing. It's kind of hypocritical if you think about it. Yeah. Man, I don't know, man. I just hope that everything just gets solved right here. I mean, my dream would be, for Saudi Arabia, that guy from Saudi, that one guy, whatever his name is, to put up the money in to see Boots fight against Crawford. Because even though the biggest fight in all of boxing to me is Benavidez Canelo, but to me, as far as the fight that I want to see the most, as far as talent wise goes, is Crawford and Boots. Man, that's the fight that I think the real boxing fans actually appreciate. But as far as big name goes, as far as the big money seller, the big bucks, it's going to be Benavidez and Canelo. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's just what I see. Coming from the Latinos, whenever, that's a fight that we want to see. You know what I'm saying? But as far as talent wise, oh man, Boots and Crawford is to me by far the best fight in boxing. And as far as talent goes, that's a fight I'd really like to see, man. I agree 100%. And here's another wild card. If Boots can't find a date, I know he was supposed to be on at least one of these early PBC shows. If he can't land the spot or land the right opponent, that's a perfect guy to go take that Saudi money and build up his name. Go get, whatever dates they want to throw. Go, try to make your way to the Joshua and Ngannou on the card. Try to make your way to the, a Beterbiev Bivol card. Keep your career active that way while they're throwing around cash. So, and Bucci has to explore every conceivable option to keep his name relevant, because otherwise he's never going to get that fight. He's going to have to wait for Crawford to just give up all the belts and then try to take over 147 for as long as he can wait. I don't think he struggles to make weight, but, fighters eventually outgrow division. So it'd be a shame if he outgrew 147 without getting, the chance to prove his mark.
Yep.
Man, I agree with you 100%, man. 100%. I agree with everything that you said right there. Hey, I really appreciate your time, Jake. And as always, Greg and Jason, appreciate you guys, giving up the platform right here. God bless you all. And give a shout out to my dad in heaven. Love you, Dad. My son, Jeremiah. Love you, son. Hey, you gentlemen have a real nice Sunday. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, man.
See you later.
All right, Jake. I know you gotta cut out here soon, man. So I don't want to hold you up, but we definitely appreciate you coming through and spending some time with us and answering our questions. I know the people on the platform also appreciate that time, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm just excited that we have, really relevant topics to discuss, not, who avoided what contract in 2019. It's like we can give up on that stuff. So I like where this, like I said, we had a really great year in 2023. We're off to a strong start in 2024. PBC's on board. Golden Boy's looking strong. Top Rank is trying to make some noise. So, keep building up. I'm not trying to be, xenophobic or whatever, but we need to build up this U.S. boxing scene. Otherwise, it is going to dry up. So, I do like what's going on in Saudi too, that boxing needs that competition. So it's like, if you don't want all you guys to go over there, it's time to start making some noise here. So again, it's my timeline has been very live, the past few days, especially with PBC coming back, everyone talking about Munguia. So it's, it's a great time to be a boxing fan. So hopefully this momentum keeps going. And next time I'm on the show, we have even more to talk about.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thanks for always having me on. I really appreciate all the love on the show, man. I really do.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you, Jake.
Next time.
Yes, sir.
All right, Jason. That was Jake Donovan, man. Definitely happy to have Jake on. We try to get Jake on, once every month to just come through and answer a lot of these questions that, Jake is really heavily embedded in the sport. And so he has contacts that, of course, we don't have. And like Jerry Soriano said that, he's very well balanced, just like we are. We're very well balanced and, we're not binary. Our opinions are multifaceted, and I hope you guys can understand and appreciate that. Let me pause here real quick, Jay, to just say thank you. We got 116 people in the building, 84 likes. If you get the opportunity, guys, please smash the like button if you haven't already done so. If you're new here, this is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media. We are always dropping boxing related content on a daily basis. So become a subscriber. And if you are a subscriber, consider becoming a member. It's $2.99 a month. We got a Discord. We got a special lounge in there for all of our members to come in there and talk boxing directly with Jason and myself. And it also just helps to support the channel overall. That $2.99 goes very far in helping us pay the bills that are associated with managing and running a channel. And also we accept super thanks, super chats, all that good stuff. If you guys are willing to donate to the channel to keep us moving, we greatly appreciate that. Jay, where you want to go from here? And now that Jake is not on, maybe your damn ears can hear something. Where do you want to go from here?
Eat shit. Go eat shit, Greg. You heard that?
That's not the type of language we like to use here on AM Sports Media, guys. Let me apologize for this heathen that is currently on the live chat, cursing on a Sunday. I apologize to all of you, each and every one of you guys. Now, Jason, is there a path? Excuse me? Don't have you what?
Go back. Oh, that was it last week? Anyway.
Hey, man, go and fight. Where do you want to go from here, sir?
Oh, so let's talk about one thing we didn't get a chance to ask Jake about was the picture, the video that came up about, man, Jake, your virgin ears. Yeah, right. I've seen you in the chat. I see what you said, buddy.
He's a disrespectful guy. Jason is a very disrespectful heathen, guys. I don't know if you guys know that. It's very hard to be a partner with a heathen such as he. Go ahead, my brother.
How can you say that? You can't even say that without smirking right now.
I'm just trying to I'm keeping it real. You are a heathen, and it's hard for a good Christian man like myself to be around this heathen.
Hey y'all, if we lose connections because lightning struck his ass because he lying on a Sunday. At least I fess up. I own my shit.
See what I mean, guys? See what I mean? Anyway, where were you going?
See what I mean, guys? Anyway. Anyway, so let's talk about Errol Spence. A video popped up of him jump roping and people thinking like maybe he's back in the training. Well, at least, getting in shape, starting that part there. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, to me, seems a bit early just for him to be doing any type of training after cataract surgery less than about 2 weeks ago. But I mean, I'm no doctor. My wife is an ophthalmologist, and I asked her about it. She feels like it's too early for that. But, he has different specialists. He had his surgery, so what's your thoughts on that? Think he's going to be ready or fights?
We'll address it. Let's take this call first. 267, you're in the building with the Angry Man Podcast. What's going on with your fam?
I'm doing good. How y'all?
Doing well.
So I just have like just two questions or just a point. So after Devin fought Regis and the fight was at 140 and Devin walked in there at 165 pounds, do you guys think if Tank and Devin fought at 140 and Devin walks in at 165, Tank walks in at about 150, who do you think would win that match without a rehydration clause?
Yeah, so this is going to go back to kind of what I said before. First and foremost, let me state that Jason is a heathen before I get into my soliloquy. But when you talk about these fighters and where these guys have been in their last fights, I think a lot of people they get it confused, and it's like the last performance is the version of this guy that they believe is going to move forward in every one of his fights, meaning he will be literally as effective as he was in his last fight. Terence Crawford is a great fighter. He really is. He's a superb fighter, highly skilled, and I agree with all that stuff, right? But it's like people just look at how he did Errol and just now believe he'll move up 3 weight classes and dominate. We just heard Jerry say beat him up, and I don't see that. With Devin Haney, he just looked masterful against Regis Prograis. But there was a reason why Vegas had him as a 3-1 favorite, dog. So it was like he basically lined up perfectly for him. So I don't think the version of Devin that you saw against Regis, who was flat-footed, looked slow, struggled with dealing with the distance, you're not going to see that against a Gervonta Davis. Not to say that Devin isn't formidable. Devin is absolutely formidable. But people have already gotten out of their minds how he looked against Lomachenko.
Against Loma, he was drained.
Yeah,
he said he was drained. Now he said he's still great.
Well, maybe he was drained. I don't know. I can't say he was or he wasn't, but certainly he didn't look as good against Lomachenko as he did against Regis Prograis. Personally, I think Tank has the foot movement, the speed, and the power. So that's the difference. He's going to be able to close distance on him in a way that Regis Prograis couldn't. Now, I think Devin at a heavier weight class is going to be more formidable. I go with Tank, but it's going to be a very highly competitive. It's going to be high speed chess with one guy who is a master boxer and another guy who's a master puncher boxer.
Because Devin, when have you ever seen a fighter rehydrate up 25 pounds? So that means if Devin eventually moves up to 147, he's going to be fighting at like 170 pounds. I feel like we got to take Devin seriously. Even though that was his last performance, I feel like with no rehydration clause, Tank is going to try his hardest, but that's going to be a great fight. And just because Devin's only 26, I feel like out of Shakur, Devin, and Tank, Devin's going to have the most potential to be pound for pound number one. I really do believe that. I really do.
You think Devin has a better opportunity to become pound for pound number one over Shakur?
I feel like, after Crawford retires, this might not happen, but I'm putting my money on Haney because I feel like nobody is going to beat Haney with him rehydrating up to 25 pounds. nobody has that type of science. Like, Haney treat his body like he LeBron. Haney do everything. The cryo, Haney treat his body well, and he's still growing. When you see, but you see Shakur, his arm, his shoulder is broken, or, you know what I'm saying? Shakur is all injured up, and he's overtrained, while Devin looks fresh. Like,
yeah.
I think
so let me ask you this.
Devin.
Let me ask you this. So you saying, Devin rehydrates up to 165 pounds, and so you are essentially saying that with him going up 165. Well, let me ask you this. How long do you believe that Devin Haney will remain at 140, knowing that he rehydrates up to 165?
I feel like everybody's gonna be scared of him. Like, I feel like if Haney fights Ryan Garcia with no rehydration clause, that might be a knockout right there. I feel like Haney's just gonna get stronger and better. And Tank said, get that snack junk out of boxing right after Haney fought. And nobody came at Tank's neck. Tank is scared. That's what I feel. Because even the $100 million from Saudi isn't enough to make Tank fight Haney right now. And I just.
But there is no $100 million. There's no offer from Saudi Arabia yet.
Well, when he said that the amount of money is like unlimited. Well, you know what I'm saying? He has enough money to actually put that fight together. And then Tank's asking for Ferraris and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Tank isn't on business. I feel like Tank does not want to hurry up and fight because Tank's 29, Devin's 26, right? If Tank don't fight him now, when is Tank going to fight him? Tank's going to fight him in a couple years when Dev is like 28 and in his prime, and Tank's like aging out. You know what I'm saying?
But let me, because I want to go back to what you were saying about Devin Haney having the potential to be the number one pound for pound fighter in the sport, and you mentioned that there's nobody in and around the weight class that can beat him. I don't think Devin is going to be at. That's where I was going. I don't think Devin's going to be at 140 for very long. He's going to move up to 47. So you telling me you think Devin Haney is better than Boots, and that Boots would be afraid to fight him?
I feel like Haney, if Haney moves up to 147 and on fight day, Haney walks in at 175 pounds as a middleweight, right? I feel like Haney would be a formidable fight for Crawford and Boots. I feel like Haney is severely. I feel like Haney, with his youth, he's gonna move up to 147 and eventually 154. Like nobody is as healthy as Haney right now. You know what I'm saying? Like unless Tank, if there were another boxer as good as Haney, right? If Tank was as good as Haney, then Tank would want to fight him now. Tank is gonna avoid him till the end of time. Tank is going to avoid Haney. And I feel like the Haney that we just saw versus Regis versus the Terence Crawford that we saw versus Errol, right? They were about the same weight. They were sitting there fighting at about the same weight. So I feel like Haney.
Hold on. Are you about to say that you believe that Haney could beat Crawford?
What?
Formidable, because they're gonna come in at the same weight. Haney could rehydrate over 25 pounds. We've never seen that before.
So you're saying but who would you pick in that fight? So if Devin decided that he was going to move up to 47 and fight Terence Crawford next, and you think Terence Crawford would be willing to take that fight at 47, who would you have within that fight?
Of course, I'd pick Crawford. But
okay.
Haney's 26. He has a couple more years till he really hits his prime. Of course, I'll pick Crawford, but I feel like Haney would be. It'll go to a decision if Haney doesn't get knocked out. I feel like Haney's that good. And Tank is 5'5", Haney's 5'6", Haney's 5'9", Crawford is 5'8", right? Just to land my plane, I really feel like we gotta start treating and looking at Devin Haney as the future pound for pound number one after Crawford beats up Boots and retire, or after Crawford rematches Errol. Haney's really going to be up there as number one. And Haney, I feel like Haney's ready to fight Tank now. And I think that Tank will put a rehydration clause on Haney. We all know that's going to happen. I feel like that's not something to discuss, that Haney versus Tank with no rehydration clause, Haney's going to be a huge problem for Tank. Because Haney's not going to try to knock you out quick. Haney could have knocked out Regis, but Haney said, hey, let me just get the good decision. Haney's not going to reach, and Gervonta, the type of shots Gervonta usually waits, because Gervonta waits for you to make bad decisions. Haney's smart enough that he's not going to make bad decisions. Haney is smarter from the Loma fight. Haney's not going to try any extra stuff or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Haney's going to fight a boring fight, not like Shakur boring. Haney's going to throw the shots. But I feel like it'll be a huge fight, and I feel like Haney's going to be pound for pound number one after Crawford retires. Truly believe that.
We don't.
And I know. But be honest, who's messing with Haney without a rehydration clause? Nobody. Even Crawford is not going to mess with Haney without a rehydration clause, because Crawford is not going to walk into the fight at 175 pounds like looking like David Benavidez. Haney's a bully.
So you are picking Devin Haney then? If Devin Haney can rehydrate up to 165, 170, you picking Devin Haney over Crawford?
Oof. Give it 2 years, and I'm picking Devin Haney over Crawford. I really am.
Crawford be damn near 40.
I really am, and that's why Bill, after that fight, Bill has never been as cocky as he is now. Bill will say, my son is undisputed. Bill's like, my son is undisputed. Nobody could beat him. And Bernard Hopkins wanted to fight Bill because Bill talks so much ish. Like, I'm like, who's messing with Bill? Who's messing with Devin Haney? I said, that's a good fight. Haney versus Terence, Haney versus Boots. That's a good ass fight, because Haney has the skills, and now he has the power. He's not pillow-fisted. He has the skills, he has the power, and Haney's smart enough, right? I feel like at 135, Tank versus Devin, Tank is going to knock his ass out. Oh, sorry to use the language.
No, you're good.
But this new Haney, and Haney said, I'm never going back to 135. And he meant that because, man, nobody saw Regis getting played with like a toy. Even though nobody really knew Regis' name before Haney, we didn't expect them to get beat up like a toy. We didn't expect them to not land a punch at all, right? And lastly, Shakur versus Haney, right? Shakur doesn't rehydrate like that. Shakur is the best defensive boxer probably in the game. Probably, definitely. But Shakur versus Haney, I feel like that would be a really, really good, methodical fight. But I still believe that Haney being him, I know it doesn't make the amount. Just think about it. Who's going to fight somebody that's that heavier, right? Nobody's going to do it. And Devin Haney treats himself like LeBron. Devin Haney is the LeBron of boxing.
You say he's the LeBron of boxing?
I truly feel that, because LeBron puts in like a couple $1 million into his body every year. Haney does the same.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. I get it now. Okay. I got you now. That's just me,
guys. But thank you, bro. I appreciate this, man. Thank you, guys.
All right, man. Sounds good. Later.
Thank you.
So
Greg,
yeah.
Real quick on Devin Haney and Bud's rehydrating up as well, and Devin Haney doesn't have the same skills as Bud Crawford. Bud would hurt Devin pretty bad. It's a big gap between Bud and Devin. Bud's on another level. You know, there's no way in the world I want to see Devin and Bud fight, whether it's this year or next year. I don't think it's fair at all.
My thing is this, Jay. I don't like the fact that he inferred that Devin Haney is on the juice and comparing him to LeBron James. He's saying he's the LeBron of boxing. I don't like that he's inferring that, because something's not quite right with a 39. I don't know what it is. Something's quite not right with a guy that's 39 years old whose knees ain't got bad.
You just hate LeBron very much. But Greg, think about this. What did Haney's team say when they ask about? What did Devin's team say about when they asked him about Bud when he's talking about moving to 147? He didn't talk about fighting Bud, who's who was at the time undisputed champion, has 3 out of 4 belts. He said somewhere else. He said Keith Thurman.
Yeah, but he's talking about Bud at 40, that he'll beat him at 40. He said that he picked Bud, then he went back and said that he'd actually picked Devin based off his comments, and then I needed to bring him back to make sure he was clear on what he was saying, and then he realized what he was saying and went back to Bud.
But you notice he kept saying about a rehydration clause, like the only advantage he has over Tank is the weight. That's what he kept hammering and talking about. Well, he rehydrates. It's about the skills as well.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
I agree.
It's about the skills as well on that. You know, Devin Haney going at 160, rehydrating 165. Like if he fights Bud, like Bud ain't gonna rehydrate to 160 or something like that as well. Bud ain't no little dude.
Yeah,
I definitely want to see Bud fight Devin. I don't want to see that. That'll hurt Devin's career.
Let's acknowledge the people that have contributed to the channel. Watch for the hook. We don't know when Errol got his surgery. We just know when he posted that video. He could have sorry guys, my screen is small. He could have got that surgery 2 months ago, and then he gave us another $5. Watch for the hook. Haney can clear out the 140-pound division and be the biggest star in boxing. He don't need Tank. Tank is getting older. And then finally, LL Music TV, $1.99. Appreciate you, fam. The delusion. He was talking about my brother who was just on here, saying that he was a bit delusional with his opinion on Devin Haney. All right.
Haney's an excellent fighter too. Don't get me wrong, but he's not on Bud's level.
Yeah, sorry, I had stopped the phone lines there for a quick second. And I now open them back up. I saw we missed a call 5:45, but at 5:45, 203. Jay, I wanna, if the 203 doesn't call back, I want to get into that Errol Spence jump roping, because I think watch for the hook is correct in that, and that's what I was saying. I'm like, if he's already jump roping, then something's off with either the timing of when he got the surgery, he posted it late, or something. And I made the comment in the video that we did, or maybe it was just me in that video, but my thing was, Errol, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to wait so many months. And I saw people in the comment section talking about it's all dependent upon when a surgeon is available, which I totally understand that. But you're talking about a high-level athlete in a situation where they need to have cataract surgery, and it's millions of dollars that are on the line in regards to this high-level athlete. That athlete does not have to wait that long in order to see his ophthalmologist, who probably is one of the better ones in the country, and would make sure that he gets his opportunity to have his surgery. So I don't know, man. It's I don't know what's going on with Errol, quite frankly, but I do feel that Terence Crawford, best option at the moment. If he's talking about making money and then hopefully getting the opportunity to be lined up for Canelo Alvarez, it would be to rematch Errol Spence at 154 and then hope that he gets the opportunity for Canelo. 203, you in the building with the Angry Man Podcast. What's going on with you, fam?
Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Tunnel Vision.
Tunnel, what's going on, fam?
Nothing much, man. That I find it kind of interesting how Devin was really, really young at like 18 years old, and Tank was old, like at 22, 23 years old. And then Devin was really, really young at like 22 years old, and Tank was old at 25, 26 years old. And now Tank is old at 28, 29 years old, and somehow Devin is still super young at 26 years old. I mean, I just went like, at one point, is this dude no longer, quote, young anymore? Because it seems they keep pushing it up as he gets older.
Yeah, I feel you there.
Yeah, but
point.
I mean, and my thing is that if you're pound for pound number one, as that dude claims, that's cool. But if you're pound for pound number one, pound for pound, that means you should be able to fight guys even your size. You know, so I find it kind of crazy. Like, you're trying to claim this guy to be pound for pound number one or whatever right now, but he needs to wait a couple of years until Crawford is out of the way, or this person is always a whole lot older. Like, if you're that guy, you should be able to beat those guys now. You know, like Boots Ennis. You know, guys like that, those are your size. You know, if you're melting yourself down to the point where you look like you're straight out of a, Shawshank Redemption, whatever, some Schindler's List type of stuff, and you rehydrate up in order to face guys that you're 15, 20 pounds bigger than them, how is actually that being pound for pound number one? You know what I mean? If you should be able to face, you're not, at this point in his career, he's not even facing guys his own size right now. So
yeah, Devin's big, man.
He's like big. Like he's not even at 140. Like he's not facing guys even his own size, even at this weight. He's still going to have a good 10, 15 plus pound weight advantage on everybody he faces. So it's like, so me, it's kind of like, okay, like if you're really that dude, you should be able to face like a Boots Ennis and take him on. You should be able to face like a Crawford, like right now, or Errol Spence, the winner of that. And if somebody did smack you in your face when you're younger, at this point you should be like, I'm a man now, and you should go up to 154 and take on Erickson Lubin and handle that business. Take care of that, Don't look for your daddy to take care of that with his pistols or whatever he says. Go handle that if that really did happen, because physically you should be able to do it. You have the size on you, and I don't know about, he's saying that, this whole 25 pounds thing, okay, yeah, it works for you now, but if you're sucking yourself down to those low weights like that, it can't be good for you.
Yeah, there's going to catch up.
There's going to be repercussions for that later. Like eventually that is going to catch up to you, and you don't know the damage that you're going to do to your body doing that. So that'll be my only thing with that. Like, okay, you're doing it right now, but I don't see him, like, that's why I don't see him staying at this weight, especially how you see how big he's getting in between fights. That so-called, quote, discipline that he had, I don't know if he has the same discipline because he's looking a whole lot bigger in between fights now than what he used to look like before. So that's why I think he's probably at that age where he's like, F this, and he's eating. So I see him going to 147. Probably, I wouldn't be shocked if it was the next fight, but I don't see him staying at 140 that long. I'm thinking 1-2 fights. The guy's still passing out, weighing in now at 140. Like he's still not looking fresh now when he's weighing in at 140 pounds. So I see him going to 147, and when he goes to 147, take on your contemporaries, like people that are your size and pretty much still your age too, in the likes of a Boots Ennis, and let's see what you're doing.
Yeah, I would love to see what. I don't disagree with you, Tano. I feel like Devin is bigger than 140, and that's why I keep asking the question how long he's going to be at 140, because 140. I mean, he had to strip down naked to make 140, which tells me he only has a fight or two left at 140 before he's going to have to be at 147, and then it will get really interesting because he's going to be there with Jaron Ennis, and I think Jaron is a monster, and this whole notion that Devin can just stay on the outside and outbox Jaron, that's easier said than done. He won't have all that range advantage that he's had in other fights. I think he'd actually be at a range disadvantage against Jaron Ennis. So he's I still think he's in a tough position, man. I think people are putting too much stock into Regis' performance.
Yeah, I mean, like I go with those like both ways. You know what I'm saying? Like whether somebody looks really spectacular or they don't look, let's say, as good for one fight, I don't necessarily say, okay, that's the guy. That's exactly the person. Like I look at, all your fights. I didn't forget about how good Errol Spence was in all his other fights just because he looked the way he looked in the Terence Crawford fight. I could see that fight and say, that's not him. He's not doing the things that he usually does in the fight. I didn't forget about people forget about all the good things that he did and all the talents and skills that he has, and they act as if, there's nothing that, that he can do against Terence Crawford. And now, for whatever reason, Terence Crawford is this monster that can go up 3 weight divisions to take on the likes of Canelo and beat him, And then when it comes to somebody like a Devin Haney, yeah, he looked good against Regis, but I didn't forget about what happened with Lomachenko. I didn't forget about all the flaws and all the issues that he had in that fight. I didn't forget about Jojo Diaz catching him with them straight hooks, with them straight rights to the face over and over again. I didn't forget about what happened with Linares. Like, no, he still has. There's flaws there. And when you start taking on guys your same size, with the same reach, and you start to lose your reach advantage, and you start to lose your size advantage, and then now you're really facing guys with power. Like, you're really now facing guys with power, especially with the likes of a Boots Ennis. And guys who are durable, who can move, you know, it's just, it becomes difficult, you know. So that's the only thing I would say with fans, like, just don't just look at one fight and be like, oh, you know, this guy's, you know, he's unstoppable now, or, oh, this guy's complete trash, you know, because that's not necessarily the case. Everybody thought Lubin was going to get knocked out in his last fight. Everybody thought he was going to get the breaks. I thought he was going to get his ass whipped. And that wasn't shoot. And that wasn't the case. You know, he showed everybody like, no, I do have, you know, I really have skills. Don't just, I had 2 bad performances. Yeah, obviously I had a bad performance, but against Fundora, but don't forget what I'm capable of still doing. I'm still, you know, I still got my skills. Like you said, I'm not a doormat, or I'm not a whatever. I'm not a gatekeeper. And he showed everybody that he wasn't a gatekeeper. So that's why, you know, even with like with the Tank fight, I want to see Tank fight Cruz. And people are like, no, a lot of people are saying they don't want to see that fight, but I want to see that fight because Tank, he's built in a way where he's built a style, and his angles, everything are for like tall dudes. So he's able to put all his leverage and everything into it as far as it comes to the taller guys, you know, and is able to knock them out. But when it comes to somebody that's shorter than him, the angles are all different. So he's not able to, for whatever reason, he's not able to place the power the same. And then Cruz, for whatever reason, with that particular fighter, when it comes to Tank, he's able to block a lot of those shots too. And when Tank, if he tries to throw the same angles as he usually does, he's catching this dude on his head. So because of the style, I want to see it again. I want to see if Cruz gets better, you know, and I want to see if Cruz gets better and is able to make adjustments that make things harder for Tank. Or, okay, with Tank having, you know, both hands being healed, can he go out there and do to him what he's done to everybody else? So, you know, just different things like that.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. You know, I personally don't want to see Tank in the ring with Cruz anymore.
I know.
I think it was more so Tank in a situation where he had a hurt hand, and I think he destroys Cruz in a rematch. But you know, we'll see what ends up being. I don't know. We'll see what ends up materializing with him next.
Yeah, one more thing, and I'm out then. But even with, I'm hearing people talk about Boots and, you know, what they haven't done for Boots. I'm not sure what the hell people are talking about. Like, number one, this guy's not with PBC, okay? He's not with PBC. But even though he's not with PBC, they've been putting this guys on pay-per-view undercards so he could be seen by people, you know, and so they could get his name out of there. They got him into a position to where he was an IBF mandatory, where Terence Crawford either had to fight him or he had to drop the belt, and he dropped the belt. And right now he's a world champion. You know, they got him into a space where, you know, he had obviously his first show in a while as a headliner. It seems to me they're moving him at the same pace and the same flow as I've seen him do with other people in the past. You know, I'm not sure why people are just thinking that, okay, he can just, boom, automatically become some kind of superstar overnight. And I don't know why people are expecting PBC to have like this full super commitment to this dude that's not even technically committed fully to them.
Right. That's kind of what
I'm not sure exactly what they're expecting, you know, from PBC, but I mean, he's in line right now. They got him to the best position that they could get him at, because the reality is these other dudes were fighting. It was Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. They were going through their whole thing as far as them fighting. Everything else is tied up. You know, absolutely everything else was tied up. So they got him into the best situation that they could get him, and now he's in a position where once those belts get dropped, he's in a space where he can do unifications and become a unified champion, and if things work out, be undisputed. So I don't know what other people are talking about, but I think he's in a great place right now with the flow and the way they're moving him. And the guy weighs in at 145 pounds, you know, and he has the IBF belt, so he has to actually be under 157 pounds the next day, and he's doing it fine. So I think he's in a space where he can actually stay at that weight class for a while.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, and I don't think he's in a bad position. And I think what Jake may have meant by that is that, you know, they didn't give him the opportunity to get maybe a Spence or maybe some upper level card guys that are on the PBC. But I mean, those guys could have been on any card. I mean, or any promotional companies, nobody's going to be in a rush to get into the ring. Was Virgil Ortiz in a rush to get into the ring with him? I mean, nobody's going to be in a rush to get into the ring with that kid right now. So, I mean, that it is what it is. He is positioned to go after all those titles. But we'll see if whoever, because they're not going to, I mean, he's already a champion, so they're not going to order a mandatory, but he still is going to have to, really build up his name to get people interested in fighting him.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. But I think right now he's in the best place that he can be at. You're not going to build yourself. I don't care what you're not building yourself up with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn doesn't have the record of building up fighters. Especially in the United States. Devin had to leave him to go get a name, and then when Devin came back, his pay-per-views dropped in half. He's looking like he's regress. He's going to be regressing where he's at. So. We'll see what happens with his next fight with Sando Martin, because that's who he's fighting. Despite what people say, and we'll see, if DAZN wins that or if Top Rank wins that, because Top Rank just signed that dude. So we'll see where it's at, but and we'll see what Devin does with that fight. But it seems as if even with him, it's back to the people are ducking me, and probably him not being able to get fights with the same people who couldn't get him fights before. So I don't think that would be a good place for Boots at all. I think he'd be in trouble if he went over there as far as progressing in the sports in America. That's
I don't disagree.
So
I don't disagree.
I think he can stay where he is, and we'll see what happens with him in the next year or so. Oh yeah, and I think even with one last thing with the Tszyu and Thurman card, I seen you guys talking about how it needed to be like they needed to have something flashy or make a big splash or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you necessarily want to do that, just due to the fact that this is the first pay-per-view that you're doing in in a completely new platform.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is that, I think it's smarter to do a bout like this, because then you have the opportunity to see all the things that work and the things that don't work with this new platform, so you don't mess up when it comes to one of your bigger fights. Because, you messing up with one of your bigger fights, like let's say if there's an issue with the pay-per-view or something like that, you could end up losing millions off of that. Like the Zone who supposedly sells all these pay-per-views, but then when they had the Ryan fight versus Gervonta Davis, they pulled in like 400,000 pay-per-views, but their systems had shut down. They could barely handle, 400,000 pay-per-views coming in. So I just think that it's smarter to do a smaller thing like that to make sure that you have everything on point before you do one of your bigger events.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. That my only counter to that is that, number one, this is Al Heyman, and he doesn't screw up like that. So you're talking about Eddie Hearn and DAZN, they're not comparable. And then number two, I just feel like with Amazon has the technical expertise in order to set their shit up correct the first time. Not only the expertise, but also the resources to make sure that their shit is set up right the first time. They got millions of people going to Amazon Prime currently to purchase things on Prime. So I would assume that it's just an extension of their existing platform.
Yeah, but it's still not a pay-per-view though. It's not a pay-per-view, and it's still not a pay-per-view though.
No, I feel you. I just think they got the I feel what you're saying.
Like the Zone had people purchasing stuff, for their stuff too, yet they still ended up having an issue. And I don't think not only with that, but just with everything, whether it be the way they promote it, the just like the tech. I don't know, because now, who are the people who are going to be the people that are going to be like as far as taping everything. You know what I'm saying? Like in there's going to be all brand new people. This is not going to be people like someone like Showtime who's been doing it for decades, or HBO who's been doing it for decades. Who's going to be the people that's going to actually be, remember like with BLK Prime, they had their show, and then they were having like all these issues. I know it's a bad example because it's BLK Prime, but with the they had to with the actual cameras and everything, and they had to fix that and get that kind of back on point. I'm talking about even things like that, because where's this crew coming from? That's going to be handling like that stuff. So that's why I just think it's probably smarter to have a smaller event like this. And I think people might be shocked about like what they do like in the gate for that fight and what they actually do for pay-per-views. People might actually be shocked by that fight, despite what people are saying about it.
Well, we'll see. I'm hopeful for the fight. I'm hoping the card ends up materializing into something that we'd all be real interested in, and that we have exciting fights on that fight. I mean, the card is solid. you know, I'm going to be watching it regardless because we cover boxing. The card is solid. I just think there was just these rumors out there that was going to be a bigger fight or at least a bigger name, and I think that's the reason why there's a level of disappointment. But could it be the point that you made in terms of just wanting to make sure that everything is good and all set up and operating correctly, being on a new platform? I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's definitely possible.
All right, that's it though. But y'all have a good night, man. Y'all be safe.
All right, man. Talk to you later, fam.
All right, peace.
Later. All right, man. That's the last call we're gonna take tonight, Jay. I think it was a great show as far as I'm concerned, but I'm biased. Again, want to say thank you to Jake Donovan for joining us and being so gracious with his time and his information and his knowledge. It really helps to drive the sport and give us further clarity on what's currently going on in the sport. I want to say thank you to the people that gave to the channel today. John Mack, $5. Appreciate you. Watch for the Hook, 5, 5, and 5 for a total of 15. Appreciate you. Then LL Music TV, $1.99. Appreciate you, fam. Again, if you are on the channel right now, or if you're part of this live, this is AM Sports Media, the Angry Man Podcast. We are always dropping boxing related content, and on occasions we will drop other sports related content as well. So make sure you become a subscriber, and if you are a subscriber, consider becoming a member. It's $2.99 a month. It helps to pay the bills, man. I mean, you know, running a YouTube channel has expenses, as Jason found out very shortly or quickly that it has expenses. So consider becoming a member. It does help out the channel, and super chats and super thanks as the folks did today are helpful, and we appreciate everything you guys do, and also your participation in the live stream today with your questions that we asked Jake. So thank you, Jay. Anything else you want to share with the good people before we jam out?
Nah, that was it. Great show. I appreciate y'all for the questions and the participation today.
Appreciate it, guys. Until next time, peace.